Willful blindness really starts out as a legal concept. And I won't bore you with legal concepts all evening, I promise. But the legal concept of willful blindness states that if there are things that you could know and you should know, but you somehow manage not to know, you're still responsible. It's most often used in drug trafficking cases or money laundering cases. So if I give you a suitcase and say, you know, when you're going to France, could you take this with you? And you don't open it up and it turns out to be full of drugs or money or guns, you're responsible. You could have known and you should have known, and the fact that you didn't know, well, that's your fault. So I first encountered this idea when I was writing 2 plays for the BBC about Enron. And when Jeff Skilling and Ken Lay, the CEO and chairman of Enron respectively, were on trial, the judge in that case instructed the jury about willful blindness. And as I was reading that transcript, I thought, well, actually, as I was reading the transcript, the banks were collapsing. So I had this extraordinarily surreal experience that all day I'd be caught up in this enormous historical catastrophe. And then I'd go home and put on the radio and discover that I was caught up in a real-life historical catastrophe. And I thought, this is really unpleasant, and it's kind of odd. Because everybody was saying, well, wow, we really didn't see this coming. And I thought, hang on a second. And suddenly the whole concept of willful blindness sort of seemed to make sense of all the chaos I was seeing around me. I thought, you could have known, and you should have known, and how come you didn't know? Because we didn't have to be in this mess. And so then I started thinking, because I guess this is just a sort of insane way my mind works, I started thinking about all sorts of other things where this was the case. So it was banks, it was Lehman Brothers. You know, they couldn't know how much debt exposure they had. I thought about Google. You know, everybody holds up Google as like this perfect company. Well, Google missed social networking. That's kind of a big oversight. You can be pretty sure that half the Google employees were on Facebook every day, but it somehow never quite dawned on them this might be quite an important thing. And I think what's really interesting about the Google case is you can't say, oh, well, it was stupid people, right? Because Google's full of, all these brainiacs. So I thought, okay, so that's interesting. So now you have a lot of smart people who aren't obviously unethical still making gigantic mistakes. And then that reminded me that Microsoft very famously missed the internet. Right? Just down the road, people were building Netscape, and all the engineers in Microsoft failed to notice that. So I thought there's a really interesting pattern going on here. And then I was talking to some people in the packaged good industry, and they said, well, actually, I was working at Pepsi for years, and I kept trying to explain that in Europe, everybody drinks bottled water. And everybody in Pepsi said, oh, come on, don't be stupid. Nobody's going to pay $1 for a plastic bottle of water. So for years and years and years, a company full of really smart, innovative, creative individuals completely missed a gigantic, important, and profitable trend. And while they were missing that one, they were also missing this one, which is they completely failed to notice that with a lot of people who want to be healthy but not do very active to be healthy, things like this were constituting a gigantic, gigantic new market. So I kind of put all these things together and thought, okay, so what does this tell us? What it tells us is you can be really smart, really connected, really well informed, and still miss extraordinarily obvious things. I wonder why that happens. I wonder how it happens. And if I understood that, could I see better?